Ladies and gentlemen, Chapter 7, reading your story and also sharing your story. We're going to use the invite skill to generate an invite link to read the story. So let's start with going into our read story skill view controller. And let's make sure it loads the story based on ID, which, if you are following these along in rapid succession, you saw we left off with writing the story to the database. Okay, I'm going to kind of go clean. Let's go stories. So here's a question. Do we put it in stories or do we put it in another directory called read? Let's put it in here. Okay, so let's go control space, create test. And we're going to go behavioral read skill view. Let's go stories. Let's make abstract 8-bit test. All right. All right. This is it. This is it. We are at the end, and we are going to then be able to test it, and it's going to be glorious, I hope. So let's start with loading skill view emits get story event. Await this dot event faker dot fake get story, which should not exist. Is this saying this exists? No. Fake get story, not generate. That doesn't exist. So let's go command period, declare method. It's command click to jump in. Public async. And let's just start with a callback. That does nothing. And let's go await event faker using the event faker from the test fixture module dot on. 8-bit stories. Get story, and then let's go return story. Let's make it an empty object now, and then let's call the callback. Okay, all this is wrong. I do not care, because as we define our event, it's going to get better. So this takes a callback, so we'll go was hit equals true. We'll go up here. Let was hit equals false. And then I'm going to go const vc equals this dot views dot controller read 8-bit stories dot read await this dot views, which is the views fixture dot load, and pass it to vc, which I expect nothing exciting. Oh, the second parameter of this is to be options, even if they're empty. And then we're going to go assert dot is true was hit did not emit read or get story event on load. Okay, see what's happening? So we're faking get story, we're instantiating the read skill view controller, and then we are loading it, and it did not emit. So let's go read dot skill view controller. Let's go, we don't need a subtitle. I don't want a subtitle, just a title. I don't even want a title. Because if I look at our thing, the title's just inside the card. So let's go public async load options. We don't need options yet. Const client equals await this dot connect to API. Await client dot emit and flatten responses. 8-bit stories, create family members. Let's change that to get story. Okay. Now we are going to get a fail, and that fail is going to tell us it's time to create an event. Look, the signature for 8-bit stories is invalid. Oh no, you either need to create a new event using create event, set your event global to event to global, so event.options to TS, or add a target that includes an organization ID or location. Choose wisely. Well, we know we didn't create the event, so let's do that. Control space, create.event. What's the event name? Get story. Get story. Camel case get story. Let's reuse this version again. Bam. There we go. Response story is not okay. So let's go define our event. So I'm going to go into events. Here's get story, but I'm going to go into stories, and I'm going to drag the get story into here, events. So get story. Let's start with the payload. Nothing. Let's get the target. I'm going to use the story ID here, which I think makes a lot of sense because this is the thing we're loading. That is required. True. And then the response or event options is global. True, because we're not scoping it to a location or an organization. And we're going to go emit permissions, build permission reference. 8-bit stories is the name of the skill. Our contract is just 8-bit stories. So that's where we get the 8-bit stories to 8-bit stories. And we have can generate story, can manage family. I want to do this. Can read story. And then the response is going to be the story. Its type is going to be schema. It is required. And then if I go into option schema, I'm going to go story builder. So now remember, builders are not source code, they're configuration files. So the schema, if I went story schema, that's production code. We don't want to include built generated code in a builder, in a configuration. So you don't, that will create a cyclical nightmare. So inside of a builder, we're referencing another builder. Fine. Let's do one more thing. Let's create a can read story permission. So I'm going to go 8.perm. I'm just going to duplicate this. So option shift down arrow. I wonder if I need, yeah, option shift down arrow. We'll copy it. I'm going to go can read story, can read bedtime story. Just need to be logged in. Do you need to be logged in? Should we let people who read this who are not logged in? If you're like that, we're not going to add a ton of security around this, which we could do. Where you like, we have some access control lists, but we're not going to do that. So the question is, can someone read a story without logging in? Yeah. That way, when we share it with someone, they can just click it and read it, and they don't have to log in. And because we're going to pass a story ID, which is a Mongo ID, which is a big like MD5-esque type identifier, it's not going to really be possible to just randomly type one in and guess it. And also, we're just not going to add a lot of permissions around this. We could actually say invite a person and then add an access control list that checks if they have access to the story. We're not going to, for the sake of this, we're not going to do it. We're just going to say anonymous, and then someone who we share with is going to read the story, not have to log in. And log in again, it's just phone and PIN. So it is really easy, but I think for the sake of this, let's make it anonymous. You can share it with your family. You just, I mean, obviously you got to host this somewhere, but anyway, all this being said, there's security vulnerabilities here, but the chance of someone guessing your story ID is so slim that like, for the sake of this, I'm not worried about it at all. So we've updated our permission contract. So let's go control space sync.permissions. This is going to fix our type errors. Well, some of them. So now if we go into here, watch. There's can read stories, not part of it. So now let's go sync events. This is going to fix our event signature, but this is going to cause type issues and tests to fail because we are not we have not implemented the calls correctly. Okay, so let's do this. Disk reporter. Look, target is required. So let's go here, open. Oh yeah, so this is in our load, right? So if I go to a call stack, you see down in here, read skill view test, use fixture, read skill view line 16. Target, story ID, all right, ID, body and source is required. So this is our response, right? See how it says get story response payload? So let's go to our event faker and let's go ID equals generate ID. Let's go body equals generate ID. Now let's go source, person ID, generate ID. Well, I should fix that. I mean, that should be everything. That should pass. So, okay, maybe we do one thing. Maybe we don't have this event return the source person ID, so you at least can't get the person ID of the person who generated the story if someone were to share and like you didn't expect them to. So let's do that. Let's go get story response builder. And let's do this. Build schema ID get story fields. Let's destructure. Let's go drop fields. There. Now let's go sync events. Okay, so it's 53 problems. I doubt that's the case. Yep, now they're gone. But I do think the response payload error is still going to hit, right? In our event faker. There it is. Response payload source does this. Okay, we're just going to do the ID in the body. Okay. Now, let's go to our test. And let's do this. Let past target equals... Well, actually, let's go into here. And I'm going to command click in these few places. I'm going to go target and payload. And I'm going to type this as spruce schemas dot 8-bit stories dot that dot get story target and payload. Let me go get story target and payload. Go to the bottom, export it. So we should be able to go let past target equals get story target and payload. Get at the target or undefined. Let's go with target. Okay. Now, how are we passing this thing to target the story ID? So let's do this. Let's go const story ID equals generate ID. And the second parameter to load on the store fixture are the arguments. So we're going to go story ID. And then we're going to go assert.isEqualDeep past target story ID. This is going to fail because we're passing gibberish, right? Yeah. So let's go to read SVC. And I'm going to go options, skill view, controller, load options. Now, this is a generic that can take a type to define what arguments are going to be passed through the query string. And we're going to go and call this read args. So we just call them arguments. So I go export interface, read args, and the only thing in here is story ID string. So now let's destructure the args out of options. Const args. Those options, right? Now we can go and destructure story ID out of args, and that should be typed for us. Look, string. Now, get rid of it there. Yeah, so we're going to pass. Hell to the yeah. All right. Now, let's go into here and let's go kind of do this in a weird order. You know what? I'm going to put a test ahead of this called to assert that it renders a card. Renders card. Okay, so let's get into the before each and let's start doing something like this. This.c, this.c. So let's go static async before each. Await super dot before each. Let's move this up. Let's declare this. Read skill view controller. And let's do this. VC assert skill view renders card this.vc. Your expect skill view render card, but it did not. Let's do that. Let's go this.card VC, this.controller card. Let's go header, title, tonight's story. And then let's go declare that private card view controller. Let's go stop card VC. Sweet. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that the results from get story, the body of the story, is rendered in the card. So let's do that. Oh, while I'm in here, we don't need this was hit check again. Just don't need it because we're checking the target. Sweet. Let's go test. Protected, static, async. And let's go card body card body contains story body. Ha ha ha. Await this dot event faker dot fake get story. So we're gonna have it return a story. So let's do this. Const story as type story, which we actually don't have a type story. So let's go to 8bit.types. Let's go export type story equals spruce schemas 8-bit stories, the version story. No, because not the full story. It's the get story response payload story, which I bet if we command click on that, there's a shortened version of it. Here, get story. And I'm going to say this is the get story. Just to say, like, this is the story from get story. It's not the actual story type because that has a source. So I'm going to do this. Get story. And then ID, generate ID, body, generate ID. And I'm going to want to modify fake generate story to say this, or get story. And then I'm going to do, no, it's fake generate story. I'm going to do it fake get story. So our callback returns void or a get story. And then what I can, oh my gosh, why am I messing this up? I gotta get to this top one we created up here. Fake get story. The callback can return void or get story. And then this callback, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it. I'm going to put it here for the return and null assertion operate it back down. Oh, that's wrong. It's this. There. Sweet. So now we're going to go, let's see. Let's do this. Method load. We have to pass it the story ID. Let's cut that, move it down. Let's go await this dot load equals story dot ID. I guess it doesn't really matter because we're not, these two things are disconnected. Let's not even bother with that. Let me just do this, make this optional. Then I'll go story ID or generate ID. Now we're going to get the card and we're going to assert that it renders the body of the story. Wait, what's this say? Make sure you have created a listener called, oh my God, I did it again. Fake get story. That GE for generate and get, that was what messed me up. All right. So do we have VC assert? So let's do this. Const model, this will be the view model equals this dot views dot render this dot vc dot get card vc. Well, we don't have a get card vc. Don't have it. Doesn't exist. And I'm not going to create it. We're going to create another test double. So class spy read skill view extends read skill view controller. Public get card VC, return this dot card VC. This is going to get mad because card VC is private. So let's command click on that. Let's change it to protected. Sweet. Now I want to do this. First thing I want to go is tell the view controller factory to use this class instead. So this dot views dot set controller 8-bit dot read. Use the spy. Then I want to change this type to spy. Then I want to typecast this as the spy. What's mad at? What's mad? Oh, we're not doing anything with the model. Okay. Then let's get this first text. So watch this. So let's get sections out of here, right? No, body. Then let's go const section equals body dot sections 0. Assert dot is truthy section. Your the card should render at least one section. Okay, so that's gonna be mad at us for sure. Card should render at least one section. So let's go to read. And I'm gonna go body sections. There. Section doesn't have any required property. That should be just fine. Sweet. So now we're going to go const text equals section dot text dot content. Assert dot is equal text equals the story dot body. The story body was not dropped into the first section. That's true. That is not going to work. The story body was not dropped into the first section. Undefined is not okay because we're random generating, so it's going to be an ID. So let's go into read. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out. Card VC. I'm going to go to load. I'm going to destructure the story out of the first result. We only have one skill listening, so we have one result. And then now let's update the cards section. So let's go this dot card VC dot set section. Where's our update section? The ID is 0 and the updates are text, content, story dot body. That's it. All right, dudes. So we have some other things that we're going to do according to our wireframes. We're going to create a back button and a share. Should we do that first, or should we just go ahead and test and read our first story? I think we should go test and read our first story. So let's see this. I'm going to go to OpenAI. I'm going to go to, am I already in Docs? I'm going to log in. Go to 8-bit dev. I'm going to go to manage projects, I guess. Projects. 8-bit dev. That's the ID, but we need a key. So let's go to settings. God, this changes every single time I'm in here. Awesome, it's not in there. Let's go down to the lower left, project general API keys. So that's moved. And then we're in 8-bit dev. Let's create a new secret key. Developer training. The project is 8-bit dev. I'm going to give it access to everything. I'm going to go create a secret. I'm going to delete this so you can try to steal it if you want. I'm going to go copy. So remember, if we don't in our .env have OpenAI key, it's not going to work. So save. I'm going to hit Command-Shift-D. It's already set to boot. So I'm going to hit Command-U. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can watch everything that's happening. That's it. Registered 12 event signature. Oh, there it goes. Bundled 10 skill views, 10 views. All right, jumping over. Gonna refresh. You ready? Think it's gonna work? Let's find out. I want to make it about wizards and sports. I want daddy, mommy, and brother. Current challenge. We are working through a software programming tutorial. Help us. Write story. 400 unsupported message. Your role does not support system in this model. Well, that's good to know. Oh, look, and we forgot to return busy. Okay, so now that we've got a fail, let's go and make sure that we stop the busy when it fails to generate. Let's go to, well, let's see what it says here. Failed to generate story, unsupported, role does not support system in this model. Fine. I wonder if it's actually assistant. We're going to find out though. So let's go to generate SVC. Let's kill this skill. Okay. Let's see what busies we have available for us. Busy. Let's see if we tested our busy. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I regret it, but not enough to always do busy. So let's see. Okay, I'm not testing for busies. Maybe that's a mistake, but let's do this. Did fail to generate. There. Okay, now let's, again, we have the assertion tools to check for busy. Gosh, maybe at this point, it makes sense that we do an assertion, but let's just try. Okay. So let's command U. Let's boot. Skill booted. Let's refresh. Let's just make sure that this thing turns off busy. 400 unsupported. Roll that call. Did that not refresh? Set is busy. Family. Oh, no. It's the controls card. Oh boy. Starting to get harder and harder to make the case we shouldn't be testing these. Okay, we do have tests for these, so I'm going to go back to handle did fail. Let's go to this busy false. Let's go into this test. Generate skill view test. Where is busy? Clicking generate makes controls busy. So where's this did fail? Emitting did fail renders alert, and then let's do this. BC assert. Card is not busy. See, how many of these do we have? This dot controls card BC. Switch your controls not to be busy, but it was. Try this dot says busy false. Okay, fine. So let's go to generate. Let's put that back in. Expected your controls card to not be busy. Oh, we have to accept the alert and close it. So it's this. Await alert vc.hide. Perfect. Let me reboot. Okay. Waiting for the did boot. There it was. Refresh. Witches, wizards, mommy, daddy, right? And we're good. All right, now let's go make that fix to not use whatever that system. I bet it's assistant. All right, let's hit that next. All right, here we go. So once again, we're getting a 400 unsupported value. Messages 0.roll does not support system with this model. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so what I'm thinking is we're going to go into somewhere we have a story generator, right? Let's just go in. What is it? Does it autocomplete for us? Assistant. So I changed production code. If this doesn't break a test, we did something really wrong. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Fantastic. There it is. Look at that. Pop, 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 pop. So it's saying change assistant to system. We don't want to do that though. We want to go open. And I bet there's a string literal in here called system. Let's see. Yeah. Sweet. So let's go assistant. I spelled that wrong. Assistant, right? Bam! All right, let's reboot. I'm gonna hit Command R because I've got the keyboard shortcuts. So here's something to keep in mind. Because the front end served via the Heartwood skill and the back end, which is your skill routed through Mercury, are so decoupled, you actually don't need to refresh. If we're not updating the front end, we don't need to refresh. We're updated what was happening in a class that's invoked in a listener. Rebooting the skill is enough, blah, blah, blah. Let us write the story. I think this is going to work. Let's do a current challenge. We are writing technical documentation, and it's been a lot of work, but is worth it. So we're going to have a story about wizards and witches with Daddy and Mommy, where we're writing technical documentation, and it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Go. All right, we didn't get an error, so the unsupported did not go down. So we've sent the request. I don't want to click away because we're going to miss the redirect. And it sends it to ChatGPT, waits for the response, and then emits did generate story with the story ID. All right. And we don't have access to emit get story. Oh, do you think it... Well, I mean, this is definitely a permission thing, so let's go to 8.permissions. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anonymous does not also mean logged in. So some things can be accessed. Let's go sync.permissions. And then after that, we're going to sync events. Okay, so that's a good lesson. I knew better. Anonymous means you have to be anonymous. It doesn't mean anonymous and identifiable or authenticated. Now we're going to say you could be anonymous or logged in. So that's so you can make something accessible to people who are not logged in and only to them. That might be a case where you want certain things to show depending on logged in status, and then to hide once someone's logged in. You could also, there's many different ways you could do that, but okay. All right, let's restart. So I should just be able to refresh that that view because it's on the read skill view with the okay, cannot find module hash spruce. So that just means the build wasn't done yet after we did a sync on all those events. So I'm going to hit Command U to run that again. And by the time I reacted to that error message and read it to you, I expect the build watcher finish building, and it did. And we're booting. Skill booted. All right, here we go. All right, I'm just going to refresh and refresh. No skill is listening to get story. Oh my gosh. Is this like one false summit after another? Are you kidding me? We do not have a get story listener. We have to actually write that. Son of a. All right, let's go do it. Should be pretty quick though. We've done this a bunch, right? So I'm assuming I've got like an inside of tests, the stories. And we did it inside of there. Okay. All right, so let's do that. Control space, create test, behavioral, get story. Listener. Just put in stories. Thought maybe I bet we discussed it where we were talking about maybe we put things in like a read behavior. So you have like story, maybe it's a generate and a read. Anyway, as you've observed, we can refactor this thing any which way we want at any given time. I just really want to read the main story. So let's do that. Open. So as with any story listener, or as with any event listener, we're going to start with skill is listening. That is going to involve await this dot boot skill, await this dot fake client dot emit and flatten. And I am assuming we already have get story, right? Yeah. And I'm just going to save that. And I kind of expect something along the lines of missing a target. So when we get a story, are we targeting? Oh, well, look, it must be handled locally. So let's start there. Let's just follow the test. Create.listener. Let's look at get stories. Let's find our get story. Just get family, get story. Bam. Sweet. Sweet. Now let's see what the test says. Now I bet it's going to tell us that we suck at targets. Yeah, target is required. Okay, fine. Target. Story ID. See, I'm just going to gibberish. I don't even need to generate an ID for this because that won't. We're going to need a real ID soon enough. So I don't need to import that library for nothing. Okay, look at listener not implemented. All right, so let's go to get story.listener. Let's return. Let's get rid of that. Oh, well, that's going to get mad at us, right? Because it's going to say the response is wrong. Story is required in the response. See, get story response payload. So let's go story, and then what's in here? ID, waka waka, body, taka taka. Okay, I'm going to cut this line for the spruce error. We might need a spruce error for if a find fails. But then the data store will throw for us. Anyway, here we go. So let us, what? Maybe let's start with, I'm going to get back to this test drawer. Let's start with the fail condition. So let's do this. Okay, all right, changing my mind. Let's go generate ID. And then let's go. I'm going to extract this out. Emit get story. And then I'm going to go const equals await. No. Let's just do the pass. Let's do this. I know there's like a whole don't go for the gold kind of thing. Let's see. What if we just do this? Let's go stories, seed 1. All right, stores. The story store you created needs a method called seed with store seed options. Let's do that. Stories dot plug in. No, stories dot store. Let's go up here. Let's create a public async seed options store seed options const total to seed destructured out of options, right? To see. Okay, cool. Let's go await promise all array dot from length total to seed. Assuming that's the right syntax, right? Why is this so mad? That should not have been mad. All right. Dot map. This dot create 1. How does it work? It's got a body, so generate ID. It's got a. Did I miss that? Source. And I believe that's got a person ID in it. Yes. We're going to generate ID. The way that we built this, we're only getting the story based on ID. We're not checking if the person who's reading the story is the person who generated it, because we're going to let people share. And then we're not getting into the access control list idea of like, well, which users have access to which stories. The IDs are Mongo IDs in our case, big long MD5-esque strings. super difficult to guess, and so just the security around that's just out of the scope of this run through. Okay, so let's go const story equals await this dot get first story. We don't have a get first story somewhere. Do we have a this stories? Okay. I bet you somewhere we have this get first story. So I'm going to look for this dot stories, and I'm going to bet you. So there it is, story generator test, and it's find one by ID. Okay, so let's just do this. Stories dot find one, and let's go story dot ID, ID string ID, and let's go const and destructure out the story from this. And then let's return it. Alrighty. So this is the expected. This is the actual, and this is mad because find one might return nothing, right? Because it's no, it's missing. Let's see. Possibly null. Okay, so let's go assert.is truthy expected. You have to seed stories to get one. Okay, so that's gonna do a type assertion to ensure the type set. There's the actual, and I'm gonna do this. Assert.is equal actual dot ID equals expected dot ID returned the wrong story. Look at that. Return the wrong story. Okay, so let's go to get story.listener. Let's destructure stores out of event. Let's go stories equals stores.getStore stories. And let's go const match equals await stories.find one. And then let's go match.id. This is mad because it could be optional, so let's bang it. All right, we're definitely going to need to write a 404 version of this. Oops, let's do that. See, I put the await in the wrong spot. The response to story.id is required. Oh, await. Jeez, dude. Getting a store has to await because it might optionally have to connect to the database, and finding one obviously has to await because doing a database lookup is an asynchronous operation. Blah. Now let's make sure we return the body. Assert.is equal actual dot body equals expected dot body. Returned the wrong body. Okay, so let's go do that. Let's go match.body. Let's bang it, which we'll get rid of these bangs in a second. Okay, not too bad. Now let's say if we pass a bad ID at 404s, if it says we don't have that concept, or say because everything's socket based, so it'll throw not found. So let's do detected static async throws not found with bad ID. Cool. So let's go ahead and do some things here. So firstly, let's change this to, I'm gonna need to load one again. No, I won't. I don't need to do any of that. We're gonna do this. We're not even gonna copy that. Should not even have done that. Watch, const equals await assert dot does throw async. This dot emit get story, generate ID. All right, that's going to force us. Oh, well, it threw because it didn't found, but watch this. Assert error, error not found. Just throw not found. We could get more explicit. Let's see what spruce errors we have available. It's been a minute for me. Spruce error. Family member not found. Oh, fine. Then we're going to go story not found. And then we're going to go ID equals ID. And I'm going to extract this out. Shift R, extract to constant ID. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that the ID is passed back with the error. So look at this. Invalid error code expected. Oh, must handle locally. We need to go into before each and boot the skill instead of calling boot skill each time. So protected static each skill. Expected an error to throw, but never got one. Okay. I was wrong why it was throwing in the first place. Well, anyway, here we go. So we expect story not found error with the ID that was passed to it. So let's go get listener. Let's destructure the target. Out of target, let's destructure story ID. And then let's pass it here, ID equals story ID. So this is going to throw, but not for the right reason. It's going to say cannot call ID on undefined. Error in local listener. Let's hit this little down arrow. Cannot read property of null reading ID. Yeah, cannot read ID of null. Okay, that's fine. So let's do this. Let's do this. Editor. If not match, throw new spruce error. Import the local one. Code. Family member not found, but no, I'm going to say story not found. Whoops. Story not found. And we're going to pass it the ID as story ID. Now this should pass. Perfect. Now check this out. See this? Knows that it's no longer null because of our check and our throw. That's the beauty of the TypeScript type system, is it can tell us that that type is not set. All right. Last thing, let's fix this type error by creating a new error called story not found. So we're going to go create. I hit control space. We're going to create error. The friendly readable name is story not found. Story not found. Okay. That should go away, but then this should underline, I bet. Let's see. There, yep, see, the code was found, but the ID wasn't. Because if we go to not found builder, see a family member not found, and this is in the errors directory, we're going to go and add the ID field. It is required. No other field is required. Once that's done, we're going to go sync.events. No, errors. While that's going, I'm going to command P into spruce error. Perfect. Look at that. A story not found just happened. That's an awful error message if you ask me. Let's see this. I could not find a story with the ID. Let's use the template literal. Options.store.id. Bang. Let's see. I hit Control tilde a few times to hide that. That looks good. So let's kill this. Let's kill that. I just want to like clean up my windows here. Got an extra Zish window open from the last thing. Gotta kill that. All right. Is it time? Command U. All right, let's go back and reload. There it is, boys. Let's read it. You ready? Our first story. The Enchanted Quill, a tale of magic and perseverance. All right, good start. Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage on the edge of an enchanted forest, lived a wonderful family known as the Family. Known as Family Name. Cool. The family name Family is cherished. Did we in our story generator? Oh, please tell me we didn't actually add in the family name, right? We didn't. We didn't do it, did we? Generate prompt. Let's see. Family name : family name. These don't need to be optional, right? Because look, I'm looking at that as required. Ooh, and we still have an optimization to potentially do there. So the family name is literally family name. That's what I put in. Awesome. Let's keep reading. At least we got mommy and daddy in there, right? Okay, here we go. The family name Family was cherished by all the namers in the forest and friends for their warmth, kindness, and joy they brought to everyone they met. In this loving family were mommy and daddy, who shared a special bond filled with love, laughter, and adventure. Mommy had a sparkle in her eye and a song in her heart, always ready for a comforting hug or a word of encouragement. Daddy was curious and attentive, with a mind full of ideas and a knack for fixing anything that needed tinkering. One evening, as the golden sun began to set and the paint of the sky in the hues of pink and orange, Mommy and Daddy sat down at their wooden table surrounded by stacks of parchment and bottles of ink. They were working on a very important project, crafting a grand book of knowledge filled with all the wonderful things they had learned and discovered. It was called The Great Guide, a piece of technical documentation that would help many people far and wide. This is a lot of work, sighed Daddy, rubbing his eyes thoroughly. But I know it will be worth it in the end. Mommy nodded in a gentle smile. We're putting our hearts into this, and that's what makes it special. All right, keep going. Just then, a soft knock echoed at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Surprised, they looked at each other, wondering who could it be at this hour. Daddy stood up and opened the door. To their amazement, standing on the threshold were a friendly witch named Willa and a wise wizard named Walter. Oh, Walter, man, where you been? Willa wore a cloak the color of twilight, adorned with tiny stars that twinkled as she moved. Walter's robes were a deep emerald green, and his long silver beard flowed like a waterfall. All right, honestly, I thought Mommy and Daddy were going to be the Witch and the Wizard. I did not expect them to be visited by the Witch and the Wizard. Let's continue. Good evening, chimed Willa with a cheerful grin. We couldn't help but notice the glow of hard work and determination coming from your home. Walter nodded sagely. Ooh, indeed. It's not every day we see such dedication. May we come in? I think the answer is no. When random wizards show up at your door, the answer is no. But let's see. Mommy and Daddy exchanged delighted glances and welcomed them inside. All right, first red flag. The little cottage seemed to brighten even more with their magical guests. As they settled around the table, Willa looked at the heap of parchment. It seems like you're undertaking quite the endeavor. Yes, replied Mommy. We're writing the Great Guide, but it's proving to be a lot more work than we imagined. Walter's eyes twinkled behind his spectacles. Ah, but the most rewarding journeys often are. Willow reached into her satchel and pulled out a quill unlike any they'd ever seen. It was fashioned from a feather that shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow. This is the enchanted quill, she explained. It has the power to bring stories to life and to ease the burden of writing. Hold on a second. The story about determination is about a shortcut and a quill that writes for you? Daddy looked at the quill in awe. It's beautiful. But remember, cautioned Walter, while the quill can help, the true magic comes from within you, the passion and effort you pour into your work. All right, where is this going? Mommy and Daddy thanked them sincerely. We'll want our guide to help us help others and reflect on our values, said Mommy. Speaking of which, Willa leaned forward. What are the values that are most important to you? Mommy and Daddy shared looks. We believe in kindness, said Mommy, helping others when we can, and perseverance, added Daddy, never giving up when we think things get tough. Willa smiled warmly. These are wonderful values indeed. With the enchanted quill in hand, Mommy and Daddy began to work again. To their delight, the quill flowed smoothly across the parchment, and ideas seemed to come more easily. But as the night wore on, they realized there was still so much to do. Walter noticed their weary expressions. Perhaps a little adventure would inspire you. But before they could respond, Willa waved her hand, and the room filled with a swirl of shimmering lights. When the lights faded, they found themselves standing in a lush mystical forest. Where are we? Asked Daddy, astonished. The Whispering Woods, replied Walter. Here every tree has a story to tell. As they walked through the forest, the trees bowed gently, their leaves rustling with whispers. Mommy placed her hand on a tree trunk and heard a soft voice sharing tales of ancient times, of wisdom passed down through generations. This is incredible, she whispered. There's so much knowledge here. They continued on to a clearing where a gentle stream flowed. Jesus, how long is this? Oh my god. Oh my god, it's way too long. Alright, we gotta stop. So, I think we need to go update the prompt a little bit. I think we also need a done button, right? We need a done button, and we need a share button. So let's get the done button done. Redirect back to the root skill view controller, so the dashboard. And then let me go change my family name. And then let's go change the prompt to be like, write a 10-minute story, bro. This was way too much. This is way too much, right? It's more than 10 minutes. This is like 15 minutes. I'm also probably a slow reader. This is way too much. And also, I need to check our family values. I'm just going to check those settings. So let's get the done button in. Redirect to dashboard. Let's go make sure I put in my actual family. It's not just family name. Let me get a copy of my family values, my actual family values. Let's drop those in. Let's update the prompt to say, you are a master at once a night. You gather the family towards the family's family. Yeah. Write a 10-minute bedtime story. Let's say 5-minute bedtime story? I mean, I guess how does it know what a 10-minute one is versus a 5-minute one when it's writing? I mean, that was a lot. Was that a lot? That was a lot. Okay. Anyway, let us get the done button in. So I'm going to go to read, done. No, read.test. Read skill view test. So let me go here. Test. Protected. Static async. Renders done button. Go button assert. Card renders button. This.card VC. Do we have? What do we have? Okay, here, look at this. So we have this.vc.get card VC. My assumption being if I command click on card VC, I'm going to be taken to a spy test double, right? There it is. Okay, but I don't want to have to call this. My kind of rule of thumb is every dot that you use that's reaching into something is like some exponential increase in difficulty of refactor pane. And so I don't like the paint of refactor. As you can tell, I have made a lot of mistakes during this and had to refactor many times. And if you've been with me, you have had to refactor too without the quill of making refactoring easier, which is BS. Is that BS? That's BS. Oh yeah, make this a get. Okay. Yeah. Okay, card is missing a button, following IDs. Done. So let's go to read SVC. I'm going to put it in so that, this assertion doesn't care. It doesn't care where the button is. And that's on purpose, right? Because maybe you want to put it, maybe you want to put it in the footer. Maybe you want to put it, I don't know, in the body. Do that. Assertion doesn't care where it renders, just that it is rendering. I'm going to make it a primary. You don't care. It's just, it looks nice, I guess. Okay. Then launch this. Test. Protected. Whoops. Protected. Static async. Clicking done redirects to root. So we need to go await this dot load. Is this gonna crash? Just load on all tests? I don't think so. Look, you need to create a listener. So I'm just gonna go into. I'm just gonna go into here. There's some refactoring to be done here. Look how many fake stories we have. 1, 2, and I'm about to add a third one. And so what we would have to do, let's do a little refactor here. Watch this. So I'm going to take past target, the target that was passed. I'm going to set it up here as a property of this. Go up. Static. I'm going to delete it for each target. And then I'm going to go watch, cut this. Double click on that. Command D. Command D. I did too many. Double click, Command D, left arrow, this dot. Get that. Now, go there. And past target kind of loses context, doesn't it? Let's say this. Get story target. Yeah, now when you see that property, it makes a lot of sense, I think. Okay, so we were able to remove it there. That also, if you see, fixed our this test because now we don't need it. So then the other thing is story. And so I think I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to call it here faked story. And then I'm going to go like this. First, copy that. Here, faked story, private static, command control minus to get back. I'm gonna go cut that. I'm gonna jump to before each, and then I'm gonna reset this each test. This dot. We remove the type's above. Perfect, right? So we can go return this dot faked story. Now I've got some issues here. We cut that, and now we do this. Yeah, nice. So every test that runs, we're faking get story, tracking the last story target, and returning a fake story that is just set to the property on the test. All right, fine. All right, look at this. Await, VC assert, action redirects. Assert action redirects. This takes a bunch of things. So it takes an action, which is a callback. And we're going to go interactor dot click button. It can take a card, a form, or a navigation view controller. Let's go this dot card VC. Done. The destination ID, 8-bit stories dot root. And then the last thing is it needs a router, which is this dot views dot get router. So we get the router off the view fixture. That's available in the abstract fixture test. Clicking failed because the button does not have a done. So let's go read. SVC. I'm gonna go on click this dot handle, click done dot bind this private async handle done. Man, this was tough. Okay, there we go. Now it needs to redirect, right? So it's gonna say I expect to be redirected, but was not. So in order to redirect, we actually need the router, which only comes to us in the load method. So I'm going to go this dot router equals router. See how I destructured it out of the load options? This doesn't exist. I'm going to go declare, command click on it to give it a private, type it as router. And then I'm going to bang it because it's not set in the constructor, but load is always called in the lifecycle of the skill view. And then I can go this dot router dot redirect 8-bit stories dot family, but that's not right. Oh, and we need to await. And it's root. Expected to redirect 8-bit root, but was redirected 8-bit family. There. All right. I am going to reboot my skill. refresh the get story page. There should be a done button. And let's go check family name. Because did I really put it as family name? And do I really not have my family values in there? I thought I did all that. I don't know. I've been really, we played with the settings a lot, so I could see. All right, refresh. Okay. Done. Family values. Romero family. The Romeros. Let's do that. The Romeros and family values. Okay, so I need to get our family values. Let me just like get that on another screen somewhere here. All right, here we go. Got my family values. I'm gonna paste them in. Formatting doesn't matter. Look, Romeros are always curious but know how to trust themselves. Romeros never give up but know when to pivot. Romeros always try their best but know when to take breaks. Cool. Let's save that. Let's save, right? That one's so fast. Yeah, it does go so fast, doesn't it? Family members. Everybody's test. Likes to write code. Go. Mommy loves is an author. Keep some. Brother loves to play frisbee. Sister loves gymnastics. Let's give it a little bit of a personality here, right? Done. Right story. All right, let's do dinosaurs and sports with mommy, daddy, brother, sister. And what's our current challenge? Let's do no current challenge. Let's just see. Right story. There we go. The Romeros and the Dinosaur Olympics. What? Once upon a moonlit night, in a cozy town nestled between the rolling hills and sparkling streams, lived the Romero family. Daddy, mommy, brother, sister. Their house was always filled with laughter and the scent of fresh baked cookies. I like that house. And the glow of curiosity that danced in everyone's eyes. So one of the values is curiosity. It's actually, let me read it. Romeros are always curious, but know how to trust themselves. One evening, after a delightful family dinner where they shared stories and dreams, Brother excitedly exclaimed, I wish we could play frisbee with dinosaurs. Sister giggled, twirling on her toes like a graceful gymnast. Sounds like a ballerina. And I wish dinosaurs could do gymnastics with me. The house fell into a peaceful slumber. I don't know. It's still pretty cool though, right? All right, let's be done. Last bit, if we look at the wireframes, is a share button. Okay. So next up, let's share. All right, you ready for some invite? So let's just start with like adding the invite button. So I'm gonna jump into the read skill view controller. For those who've been following along, we just migrated to instance-based tests as the default, and I migrated this skill so there's no more static in our tests. But if you've been following along, you probably already noticed that you were coding it differently than I was. So one of the fun things about documentation, instantly out of date. Whatever, I'm not upset about it. Okay, renders done button. So let's say this. I'm going to rename this test to renders expected buttons. I'm going to change this to buttons plural. And we have done, so let's add invite. Your card is missing buttons with the following IDs. Invite. All right, into read we go. Buttons, done. Let's add another one. ID, invite, or no, not invite, share. Why am I saying invite? Share button. It's a share button. Sorry, dudes. Okay, that should fail for the better reason. Okay, cool. Okay, so how do we share the story? And maybe that's why I'm conflating share and invite. There is a skill called the invites skill. And it came with your theater, and it's already there. And in fact, let me show you this. So I think I close. If I go here to people and invite, we can invite someone. What we're going to do though, when someone hits share, is we're actually going to fill some of this out. Like where to send someone after they're done. And we're going to configure it, and then it's going to redirect them to our story. And this is actually really easy, because all we're concerned with is that we're redirecting to the invite skill to the right destination. So first, let's start our asserting that clicking that button, the share button, redirects. Detected async, clicking share redirects to invite skill. I don't know, call it whatever you want. Wait this dot load, wait VC, whoops, VC cheapers assert, action redirects. The action will be an interactor click button on this card, but this time, it's the share button. Okay, and then we need to set the router, this.views.get router. And you know what? I don't even know if the redirect assertion tool requires a destination, just checking if we redirect. So let's just start there. Jump into read, go on click. That was bad. On click. This dot handle click share. Applying that. Private async handle click share. Okay. And I can tell from handle click done, and we already had a redirect test. We have a router locally. So look, I expected to be redirected, was not. All right, fine. This dot router dot redirect 8-bit stories.family. Whatever. Just need the test to pass, because we're going to have to build the destination. So how do we do that? Well, some skills in the platform, invites skill is one of them, exports a node library during its CI/CD process that's on the npm registry. So we need to get the invite skill utils set up here, and then that has a helper function that we're going to use called like build route to invite skill. We'll figure it out. And then we're going to build the URL using that in the test, ensure that that's where we're sent. Then we go into the production code and rewrite it. So a little bit of that double entry thing. It'll be though like line by line, pretty much identical. But let's start by installing that library. So I'm gonna hit Option Control Space yarn add at Spruce Labs / invite skill utils. I think we'll know if I got it right pretty shortly. Nope, I was wrong. That was crazy how long that took. Hopefully we cut during that time. So let's try it again. Yarn add at Spruce Labs Spruce invite utils. I believe this is it, because we do have a naming convention at Spruce where if a node module we're deploying cannot work outside the platform, it starts with the name Spruce. Then when there's, you see all these, right? Yeah. So then invite is the skill name, and then any skill that exports utility functions. We call it utils. So I think this one's going to work. Because, yeah, it didn't seem right to put skill in the name. That did it. That did it. So let's do this. Let's go const dest equals build route to create invite. Bam. And what does that take? A destination after accepting, a destination after creating, a location ID, so we're not doing scope related stuff, a message, an organization ID. Looks like we can invite a specific person. We can invite them as a role. Should allow customization. Should allow organization selection. Well, let's start here. After we accept an invite, the ID is, and we want to send them to read, right? We want to send them to the read skill view. So that's what? 8.read, I'm assuming. And then the args, we want to pass the stories ID, which I'm assuming we have. That's randomly generated. Let's do this. Const story ID equals generate ID. Let's pass that to load because it looks like our load takes an optional story or randomly generates it. Random story ID, cool. And then what are the args here? So what you're not seeing is it's been like a month or 2 months since we last filmed documentation. So if I go to read args, it's story ID. Cool. Story ID equals ID. Fantastic. So we're probably missing some destination after create. So where do we want to go after create? Probably back to the same place, right? Should we take you back to the story so you can share it again? I think so. We could send them wherever we wanted. To any other skill view. Yeah, that's right. Why is this mad? Because it's story ID. Okay. 8bitstories.read, 8bitstories.read. Okay, let's see. Should allow organization selection false. We're not doing anything with scope, anything like that. And then let's do this. Should allow customization false. Let's just make this like really fast. Enter name and phone. That means we probably want to supply a message. Check out this amazing bedtime story about the whole family. Okay, so if I hover over destination, what do we have? Looks like we have an array with 2 elements. The skill view key of a skill view controller map, so that's the skill views IDs, and invite route builder options, which I think are args. Let's do this. ID args. So now in our assertion, we'll go destination ID args. Look at that. I expected to be redirected to invite.create, but I was sent 8-bit stories. All right, let's do invite.create then. So this is interesting now. We're going to start getting type errors because invite.create is not a valid skill view as far as our skill is concerned. So we don't have the same type of type syncing between skills and views as we do with skills in their events. So the event signatures get shared, but the skill views don't, or any views. Handle, click, share. So let's go invite.create. What did I spell wrong? I spelled invite wrong. Now I'm expecting to get this args problem. The args you pass, not what I expected. Deep equals failed. Okay, so rather than just going and recreating that, oh, don't let anybody see this. Don't let anybody see this. I know. Just gonna copy and paste it right over. We don't have the story ID anywhere, do we? So we got to do this. This.story ID. Okay, let's declare this. Command period, declare, command click. Private. I'm gonna bang that so we don't. Okay, this dot story ID. I'm gonna get story ID is not defined. Yeah, this dot story ID, and I'm gonna go ID args. Okay, I expect one more error because remember, I was saying it doesn't consider this view skill view to be real. Do you see? I couldn't find a view controller called invite.create. Create one, but we actually don't want to do that. We want to turn off the functionality that's set, the test functionality that's in place, that is validating this. Like we don't want it to throw. So here's how we do that. I'm going to go to the top of this test. I'm going to say test router dot set should throw when redirecting to bad skill view controller, or say false. Normally that's a good thing. That's like 99.9999% of the time we do want it to throw. Okay, guys, I think that's it. Should we go test? So watch this. Control space, watch views. I'm gonna go back to test reporter. All right, let's jump to the theater. Command Shift N. 8 bits, whoops, 8-bit a barrel bunch root. There it is. Let's write a story. Gotta add at least one family member. Did I not do that? We've got all of our stuff in there, so I guess we're doing this. Timmy's son, my boy. Jane's son, my girl. Fantastic. Let's hit done. I have values in, right? I thought I did all this. We try our best. Don't ever give up. Go. All right, so we have family values, family members. Let's go write a story. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Nice virtual machine. All right, let's do wizards, witches, Timmy, son, Jane, son. Trying to write documentation. Let's see. Write story. Go, ChatGPT, go. That just makes me nervous. Like, is it working? Is it not working? You wait this long? I mean, but that's why we made it that eventually consistent design. So the event doesn't need to wait. All right, there it is. Enchanted Quest of the Romero Siblings. Okay, all right. So let's go down here. Let's hit share. Who do you want to invite? Well, I want to invite 555 555 1 2 3 4. Share son. Let's go next. Invite sent. I should be redirected back to the story. I was. Okay, now what? In a production environment, a text message would be sent with a link. Click it. We're not in a production environment, so no messaging is being sent. So what we need to do now is we need to open MongoDB Compass and look in the Mongo database. So do you think I have installed that? MongoDB Compass. I have not. So I'm going to go install that, and I will see you on the other side. Gosh. DB Compass stable Mac download. All right, download's done. I'm going to do the old Mac install drag and drop. It's done. Go to applications. MongoDB Compass, open. Oh, really? Really? I downloaded the wrong one. It's not awesome. Holy pants, taking forever. All right, so here we are. MongoDB Compass. First load. Welcome to Compass. I don't care. Go add new connection. Localhost. So by default, if you've got Mongo set up, you probably have to do something different here. But if you use the installer and it just set up the local, there is no username and password. It's just obviously not production like security, but that's not what we're looking for. What we are looking for, so here you can see the skills. Here's 8-bit stories. And here's our family members. There's 6. I've logged in as someone else. And I didn't even know it. Okay. So let's do this. People. No, not people. Mercury. So here is the Mercury database structure. Everything. We're going to go to messages. And we've got 16, and a lot of them are like, your code, and then there's the pin, and status is ignored. So everything in dev, status is ignored, so it won't send. But look at this. Hey, first name, sender has invited you to message. And then our message is, check out this amazing bedtime story about the whole family. I'm gonna go to links, 0, and look at this, here it is. So we go copy. Oh boy, it is now going to be important to remember which phone number I invited. We can actually check right here. Let's look. Target 555-555-1234. Perfect. Yeah, you can't accept other people's invites. Oh, I'm already logged in. Let's go log out. Now let's paste again. So as you can see here, I'm at localhost 8080. You can just load that in any browser. So there's accessing everything through the theater, but then you can go directly with just localhost 8080. All right, give me a number. 555-555-1234. Every pin in the development environment is 0s. And we're in. Now, what you didn't get to see is watch this. Let's go back to MongoDB Compass. Let's find in the messages again. We should have 17. We have 18. Oh, because of another pin one. So look at this. OMG, this is so exciting. First name accepted your invite. Context shares it. How cool is that? So that's it. So we got into a little bit of extra stuff. We got into directly accessing Mongo. We got to use another skills libraries to generate a URL. Done. That's it. I mean, if you go to 8bitstories.spruce.bot, I mean, there's a theme and stuff, and so maybe we'll do some training on theming. But like, this is it. You did it. You have a bedtime story generator. If you want to deploy this, I'll have to check the documentation on that. I haven't written that yet. Well, I'll get on it. And like I said, everywhere in the documentation, there's a request enhancement button. Please hit that whenever you see something missing. Okay, great work. Remember, also check the documentation for katas if you want to do some training. Other than that, success. Yes.